Hi everybody, Andy from Freelance Lifestyle Secrets here. Today I want to talk to you about the next part of the Introduction to IT Contracting series, which is all about the outlook for the contracting market and for you as an IT contractor. The main thing to say about this is it's kind of not dependent on, today, a current point in time. So obviously you could watch this at any point anyway. So it's thinking a little bit bigger in terms of what impacts the outlook and what can you do about it. Obviously, when everything is really good, lots of clients, lots of projects, lots of roles, then nothing really to think about. You get the role you want at the time you want for the rate you want. The other times is thinking, okay, what's impacting the economy, because that's kind of really what drives everything. The main points to bear in mind is if you've got the right skills, the right experience, then you're always going to be in demand and well sought after and well rewarded. So kind of keeping your skills and experience relevant is key. The other part to think about is the contracting market is actually typically one of the first to pick up after any downturn, which kind of makes sense because if you think about, companies and projects being put on hold or postponed, then once they restart, then things have changed and there's a big demand for contractors to come in and fill gaps or to catch up on lost time or to provide those skills and technologies that have changed. So contracting always really good as economies pick up. And the third thing to think about is kind of the changing economy. So let's bring up a slide and I'll explain that in a bit more detail. So this is kind of the ups and downs of the economy over a last period of time and into the future. So it probably reflects the economy and life in general. And you can probably imagine all the way back, could go back a lot further. If we go back to the banking collapse, then obviously lots of employees, companies affected. So it didn't really affect kind of one type of employment or contractors or different companies or different sectors. Everyone was pretty much affected. Same with COVID and the same in the current economy. The key here is to really think about the curves and the ups and downs and how you manage those. Ideally, what you want to think about is drawing a straight line through the middle of these curves, and they kind of then balance out the peaks and troughs. So you're always going to have peaks and you're always going to have troughs, and it's how you manage those that's key. The great thing about being an IT contractor is you and your business can control things, whereas as an employee, you're kind of at the behest of what your employer, thinks is the best thing to do to balance, through those. Most times, which involves, redundancies, downsizing, cutbacks, more work for less people. You've probably experienced that before. So as a contractor, what you want to do is, first of all, know what's coming. So just realize this curve. So obviously it's not always as neat and tidy as this, but you can normally kind of predict the next downturn. You see the early signs. And then you want to prepare for that. And at the same way, you see the upturns and the peak that's going to come when you're going to be able to maximize, the returns of contracting and be prepared for that. They don't go on holiday for 6 months, just as the peak's arriving. At the same time, don't start, spending and buying stuff when the troughs are here. Try and kind of balance things out a little bit. But with that little bit of knowledge, it can make a huge difference in terms of how you see the outlook and how you manage the outlook. So I hope that helps. Let's talk about the next thing, which is which sectors of the economy are always reasonably good and are always good to be aware of. Okay, so you probably may be aware of some of these. You may have, friends, colleagues that work in different sectors that can tell you, or, this is really good at the moment. And then maybe they're the ones that you start looking at in terms of getting roles in those sectors. But my general list would include things like the financial sector. So I talked about the banking collapse. That's probably, a rare occurrence in terms of the banks getting it wrong. So normally, financial institutions are pretty good with money, pretty good at managing risk and therefore pretty good at providing projects at the right times. Also really competitive, so a lot of projects are driven by some competitive advantage, but also a lot of regulation. So a lot of projects also because the government says you've got to do this, this is changing, get yourselves ready. A good example of that was during COVID when payment holidays came in for things like mortgages and loans, so people weren't under too much of a strain. So that was quite a new thing for a lot of companies. They'd never really had to think about giving people payment holidays before. So a lot of new systems, a lot of changes, a lot of following government instruction on that. So that provided a lot of opportunities for a lot of contractors to kind of be on those projects. So the financial market, the financial sector is always reasonably good, always quite busy. In the same way, the energy sector, again, following on from what happened in banking, obviously a lot of readjustment in the energy sector. So another big driver is mergers and takeovers. So if you imagine every time there's a merger or a takeover, you suddenly got two systems either to manage or combine into one new system. So again, lots of work to do, usually not enough resource in the companies involved to bring in contractors to help out. Maybe skills on a legacy system they haven't got in the new company. So by running an old legacy system for the old company, then contractors can come in and fill that. So always good in any sector that's got a lot of mergers or takeovers going on. So financial and energy, two big sectors that are always reasonably good. Another one that you see a lot more these days, again, you need to be prepared for it, is kind of military defense projects. So you didn't really used to see these at all. They were kind of literally under the radar. A lot more open now in terms of what's going on, but you do obviously need some level of security clearance for most of the roles involved. So if you ever get a chance to get security clearance, obviously can be quite intrusive and can take quite a long time. But if you want to work in this sector, then it's definitely worth getting whenever you can. Another sector that I've seen a lot of change recently is healthcare. So again, good area for getting clearance. So sometimes with a lot of patient data, you might need some level of security clearance to work with patient data. So good to get it there. But also, because of the state of data in the UK National Health Service particularly, lots of projects going on to try and help the whole system. So healthcare is really kind of growing. And then a final one I'd say is it's probably died down a little bit recently, but for the start of 2024 it was really growing, was the betting gambling industries. Lots of stuff going on there. Not one I'm too familiar with, so I don't know whether it's just legislation coming in or just lots of competitive stuff going on. But there was lots and lots going on there. Still quite a bit. And gaming as well. So a lot of the gaming companies. So if you're into gaming or programming and testing of gaming stuff, then good opportunities there. Outside of that, then I think they're kind of the big sectors. But if you are in a sector that's really hot, then maybe put that in the comments, share with the group, or be aware that maybe there's some good roles coming up as a contractor in that sector. And that's really, what I'd like to say about, the outlook of contracting. It's not too much about, is it going to be good next week, next month? It's like, as a contractor, how do I manage whatever the outlook is, and how do I maximize the opportunities of it? Because again, most contractors have, gone through those peaks and troughs before. So it's not that you're in a peak or a trough that makes it good or bad. It's really how you manage it. Hope that's been useful. I will see you on the next one. I will leave links to the rest of the introduction series so that you can catch up on those if you haven't done already. This is Andy from Freelance Lifestyle Secrets. See you soon.